About a month ago, I purchased a gaming chair from Ewin Racing. The quality of the chair exceeded my expectations, so whenever I found out that they had an RGB gaming desk available for sale, I jumped right on it. While I waited for it to arrive, I watched a few reviews online about it, and they all pretty much said the same thing, that it was packaged very well, that it had incredibly solid construction and build quality, and that it was kind of a pain in the butt to put together. Having now received mine, I can confidently say that I agree with all of the reviews. It is very well packaged, the materials and build quality are excellent, and putting it together is something. Honestly though, putting it together wasn't that bad. It took my wife and I about 40 minutes to put it together, and I think that the difficulty doesn't come from the actual building of the desk, but that the instructions are pictographic and not super clear. But honestly, it's all worth it because this desk is pretty awesome and it's a great value for the price. Because of that, I thought it wouldn't be a bad idea to make a video of its assembly, just so that if you do purchase one of these, I can save you a little bit of frustration by providing a clear visual on how to put things together and in what order, so that you don't make some of the mistakes that I did. The first step is pretty straightforward. You just take the two metal rods and slide them through the loops on the top and bottom of the Ewin Racing flag. Now, while looking at the manual, the next step has you putting the rod into the holes on the legs. I did this several times unsuccessfully because at this point nothing is really keeping the legs together, so every time that you go to attach a new component, your flag is going to fall out on the floor and drive you insane. So my suggestion is to just hold off for a little bit and we'll put that flag in later, and you'll see that there really isn't any disadvantage to doing so. First thing you'll need is the B8 screws from the blister pack and the little L-shaped brackets. If you haven't already, this will be the time where you flip the legs upside down so that the part that is going to connect to the desk is on the floor. Then you can take the brackets, and the part with the round hole on the bracket is what screws in, and the part that has the pill-shaped hole will be left open, which you'll attach your desk to later. It's okay to hand tighten them, as you don't want to make it too tight, because whenever you go to put the table on, if it doesn't line up, you'll have to loosen them anyway. So just screw them in tight enough so that everything stays, and then you can tighten them down later. The next step is to take the center rail that has the wiring in it and attach it to both the left and the right leg. It's important to make sure that you don't do what I just did and place it with the wiring facing down, as it will then be covered up by the desktop. So whenever you install yours, make sure that you flip it over, which I will be doing later on in this video. There's also a left and right sticker on the legs. Whenever you're installing the center bar, make sure that the end with the USB-A on it is on the side with the right sticker, and the side that has the other connectors, as I'm showing here, is on the left side. Next, from the blister pack, you'll need the A4 screws, which are the longer ones that have the little end caps that look like this. I found that this next step is a little bit easier with two people, but if you're putting this together yourself, I found that it's helpful if you place the caps in the holes on the outside before you try to install the rail. Before you attach the rail, however, you can now put the Ewin Racing flag in place, as this rail, when tightened, will prevent the flag from falling out. Just remember to install it upside down because this is going to flip over, and you can either put it with the Ewin Racing facing you or the other direction, but since my desk is up against a wall, I had it facing me. For this second rail, you'll want to make sure that the points, the little triangular points, are pointing up. So it'll look just like this whenever you attach it. As I was mentioning earlier, this part of the assembly, it would be helpful to have a second person assist you, as they could either hold the flag into place, which will likely fall out as you're trying to do this otherwise, or help you with finding the cap end when you're putting the screw in, as at first I found it a little challenging to connect the screw and the cap together so that it would thread through. I found it helpful that I had both hands free so that I could make sure that I was holding the cap end centered so that the screw end would thread right through it. Otherwise, it's kind of easy to miss, and as you're twisting, you'll notice that it doesn't tighten at all. So having both hands available for this part is pretty helpful, and then once those are in and tightened, you won't have to worry about your flag falling out anymore. Although if you're having difficulty with the flag falling out during this step, you can also try putting the screws and the caps all in first and just barely tightening them. That way you have a little bit of give so that you can fit the poles in for the flag, and then you can tighten it the rest of the way. Now that that rail is connected, the flag is pretty well held into place. So after I flipped my center bar over, since I put it in incorrectly the first time, I could get the screws and hand thread them in. Then I just flipped it upwards so that I could easily get to the screws to tighten them. I didn't see this mentioned anywhere else, so I don't know if mine is the only one, but it seems too obvious to be a coincidence. But there's a little bit of white paint on the cables on the one side, and on the bar there is a corresponding cable with white paint. I'm assuming this just lets you know that you have the bar attached to the correct side with the matching cables that it connects to. The next step will be to connect the desktop to the legs. So with the top of the desk down on the floor, you'll be able to see the screw holes where the brackets that we installed earlier connect to. You'll also be able to validate that you've got the bar installed the correct way, as the USB-A connector will match up. Now it's time to connect the legs to the desktop. After placing it on top of the desk, you can adjust the little brackets that were installed earlier so that they line up with the holes. And because the brackets weren't fully tightened down earlier, it should be very easy to make subtle adjustments so that the holes line up and you can be easily screwed in. Now you can take the D1 screw and use it to connect the cup holder to the underside of the desk. There are holes on both sides, so you can pick whether you would like your cup holder to be on the left or the right. Now you can take the little feet out of the bags and screw them into the bottom of each leg. And finally, connecting all of the cables. At this point, you may be thinking that you installed something incorrectly or missed something, as there are too many cables and not enough connections. But if you peel this little piece of tape up from the bottom of the desk, you'll see that there are other cables tucked away in there, and that will provide you the final connections. Finally, you'll connect the two blue USB-A connectors together. You'll then be left with only one last USB connector. This is what you'll use for power by plugging it into the back of your computer or a charging brick and plugging it directly into the wall. But all you'll really have to do here is loosen it so that you can get some slack, and then you can stretch it out and plug it into whatever you'd like. I plugged mine into a portable battery pack to test it out before I placed my desk, just in case I did something incorrectly. It would be way easier for me to fix while it was out in the open as opposed to already set up. Hopefully you found this video helpful and it helped you put your desk together effortlessly so that you could enjoy it sooner. And if you stumbled across this video because you were looking for more information on this desk, feel free to save this video for later should you decide to make the purchase. Here's some of the things that I really like. Apart from the really cool RGB everywhere look, the wireless charger built in is really handy when I need to charge my phone while I'm working, but underneath that is a USB port that can be used to charge up your mouse, keyboard, or really anything else. The carbon fiber top looks and feels very premium, and as an added bonus can be used as a mouse pad as your mouse works anywhere on it. And there's plenty of space to work as the top of the desk is 48 inches wide. The lights themselves are highly customizable in terms of just sheer number of patterns and the speed of those patterns, really allowing you to get pretty much any look that you want to match your current setup. I'll be sure to keep you updated on my experiences with the desk as the weeks go on, but in the meantime, if you have any questions or anything you'd like to know about the desk, please feel free to ask those questions in the comments below. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.